Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. So today I'm going to do kind of a little chatty, casual video with you guys. Yesterday I got to see the movie adaptation of Crazy Rich Asians. I'm not going to hold this up the entire time because hello shininess. And also I don't even have like the book inside, it's out with my friends. So yes, I got to see the adaptation of this a week early. Not because of anything special, but because literally they were doing early screenings and I bought tickets to it. So this is not a paid promotion. This is not even some like special YouTuber perk or booktuber perk or anything along those lines at all. Literally just bought tickets to an early screening. So as of this recording, I saw it last night. So everything's still really fresh in my brain. And obviously I've only watched it one time. And I watched it not intending to make this video, but I was thinking about what I wanted to do a video about this week, and I was like, why not just talk about Crazy Rich Asians since it's on your mind? So I'm going to. So a little bit of background. I read Crazy Rich Asians right when it came out in 2013 or 2014. I don't even remember. I'm going to link to the review up above. And so I remember very distinctly like walking into a Barnes and Noble and they had sort of like their new releases shelf. Like at that Barnes and Noble they had their new releases bookshelf with like the books facing outwards, and I saw this cover of Crazy Rich Asians, and I don't know how you see this on a shelf and not like instantly gravitate towards it. But yeah, I think it was the cover combined with the title and knowing that this was about not white people made me really excited, because this was also came out during the period when I first started to think about things like diversity. I remember very distinctly having a conversation on the Book Riot back channels and just even thinking about how like the way Barnes and Noble sets up their displays, like how many of their like front facing books are even non-white authors or anything along those lines. And so I remember like at my old job there was a Barnes and Noble really close by, so I like went during my lunch break and I just started like counting books, and then I saw this one and I was very excited to see at least one on the shelves, and I ended up buying the book too because it just sounded really interesting and sounded really fun. So yeah, I think like my Goodreads rating on this book is like a 3 out of 5 stars. I've always like really enjoyed this series. I think it's just like fun, like a really good time, but I've never like thought this was like the best book series ever. Like I've always had some small issues with it here and there, but overall this has been one of my consistent, what we call over at Book Riot, Swiss Army picks. It's one of those books where I can recommend it to almost anyone. And obviously, like, people have different tastes and preferences. And if I know a little bit about what those tastes and preferences are, I can provide more specific details about a book. But if I don't know too much about a person and all I know is that they want something fun and lighthearted and what's typically considered like a beach read or something along those lines, Crazy Rich Asians has been consistently a go-to pick, especially since it's a trilogy. And so when I'm recommending this book, I always tell people, like, if you like this one, there are 2 more, so like people really enjoy that aspect as well. So I've been a fan from the very beginning, and then I heard that this movie was getting made, and I have been amped from day one. Seeing the casting, seeing who was going to be the director, and seeing how hard they were working to make sure that this was a good adaptation, but not only that it was a good adaptation, but that this was a good movie, period. Not a good Asian movie or anything along those lines, but just a good movie, period. And in my opinion, I feel like they did a great job. Now, obviously, you need to go into this knowing that it's a rom-com. So, like, if you are the type of person who always hates rom-coms, obviously you're not going to like this movie. But I think that it's just a really fun rom-com that really fits into, like, the canon of, like, traditional rom-coms, like 10 Things I Hate About You or 27 Dresses or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or any Nancy Meyers movies. Like, this movie fits perfectly with all of those. It has really fun characters and really fun scenes. There were like parts where I legitimately laughed out loud in the theater, and like the theater completely laughed out loud as well. If I'm being completely honest, there's a part of me that possibly even like the movie better than the book. I think that might just be like a personal preference thing. Like, I really enjoy rom-coms as movies more than books because I think it's fun to see the chemistry of the 2 leads and to see the way that they look at each other and the way that they interact with each other, and to watch them sometimes like fall in love and things like that. And so seeing Henry Golding and Constance Wu, you know, make those lovey-dovey eyes at each other was just so great. And obviously this isn't a perfect movie. There are parts of this that feel really rushed. There's a lot of plot in Crazy Rich Asians and its sequels, which is like one of the flaws that I have with the book and the reason why it's not a 4 or 5 star book for me. And because movies always have to cut stuff out in order to fit the plot into a 2-hour time span. It felt like even faster with this book. There's a lot less character development in certain aspects. Like you don't see like Nick and Rachel fall in love, which you don't really see in the book either, but you as a viewer kind of dropped in, and it takes a second, I think, to get acclimated to them as a couple. And a lot of the side characters come off as very one-dimensional because again, they don't have the time to fully develop those things. One of the big ones is that Astrid, Nick's sister in the book, she has like a B plot in this movie, but it's given so little time, and it's very hard to root for Astrid and to be on the side of Astrid as much as it is in the book, because I feel like in the book you really see what a great person Astrid is, and in the movie you get glimpses of it, and you kind of have to just like make that jump into that assumption, but the movie doesn't have time to really flesh out the relationship between Astrid and her husband and everything that happens with them. So yeah, if you are a fan of Crazy Rich Asians, the book, I think you're going to be very happy with the movie. If you haven't read the book, and you are interested in it, I say do it. Again, it's a rom-com, so if you enjoy rom-coms, then I think you're really going to like this one. I don't think I need to talk about the fact of how fantastic it is to see like all Asian people on screen. One thing that I didn't notice when I was watching, but I saw someone in a review pointed out, the only white people you see are in the very first scene, and it's a very like important race related scene. And then after that first scene, you don't see white people again at all, which to me didn't feel very weird. And I'm wondering if people are actually going to notice that while they're watching the movie, because to me, I didn't notice it at all. But it was just really fantastic to see so many Asian people in so many different roles, playing so many different characters all together. But yeah, if you are interested in watching the movie, I highly recommend it. If you are kind of on the fence, I would say check it out. I want this to be a movie that does well because I want more good rom-coms back in the world, and I want more movies starring, featuring, created by more minorities, and so I feel like this is another step in the right direction. And so if you have the means, go watch this movie in theaters. I am legitimately planning on going to see this movie multiple times because I enjoyed it that much, and also because not all of my friends could make it to the screening, so I'm literally going over and over again as I attend with all of my different friends. So yeah, I will have a link down below to like the website and the trailer in case you haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to leave this video up because as people go watch it, come back, comment. So obviously I got to see it early, and I know that lots of other people haven't yet, so I don't expect a lot of people to comment on this, but I do encourage you guys that if you do end up watching the movie, come back and talk to me about it because I am here for all of that. But also there is one spoilery thing that I do want to talk about, and it is a spoiler for the movie, so don't continue on with this video if you haven't watched the movie yet, because it's a very specific thing that they changed from the book to the movie. So even if you've read the book, if you haven't watched the movie yet, don't watch it. All right, so the one part I want to talk about is the ending. So I was talking about this with my friends prior to watching the movie, like while we were sitting in the theaters. Prior to the release, there's been a lot of press about this being like this really historic event of a movie and how they need it to be a commercial success because then studios will back more Asian-led and Asian-created films and projects. And so reading all of that press and then knowing what I know about the book, I started to wonder how they were going to handle the ending. So again, I'm assuming that everyone who has continued on with the video at this point has read the book and watched the movie. So in the book, the ending isn't quite as neat as it is in the movie. And so my theory was that for the movie, they were going to change the ending so it could be more of a happily ever after. Like, you know, there's no guarantee that this movie's going to get a sequel. And because they want this to be a commercial success, I had a feeling that they were going to change it so that it made more people happy. Like, I feel like with the ending of the first book, it's good. And I think that books can handle a slightly more gray ending better, or a slightly more ambiguous ending better, especially if you already know that there is going to be a sequel. But because there's no guarantee of a sequel, I think they had to go with a more hard and fast ending. And so the ending of the movie ends with, as you guys are probably aware, Nick proposing and her saying yes eventually, and then her being welcomed into the family, or something along those lines. It ends with like this huge party scene of like Rachel returning back to Singapore and everyone being super excited that they're engaged. And yeah, that's really interesting to me. Like, I think they made the right choice, assuming that this is only going to be one movie. But then there's also like a cut scene in the credits that makes it feel like they're hinting at something else. Like there's a plot line that happens in books 2 and 3 with Astrid, and they sort of hint at that in the cutscene. And so then it's sort of like they're opening the door for a sequel, but then I feel like the sequels are going to be significantly different than books 2 and 3, or they're going to have to do something and say that like the family isn't accepting or something along those lines. Or maybe they'll say that the grandmother isn't accepting of this engagement because she's not seen in the party scene. I don't know, but I'm very intrigued to know like what other people think about this. Like I feel like it works for the movie. I'm really just not sure how they're going to adjust future movies if there are future movies, and I suppose that there might not ever be future movies, and so then this is a perfectly fine ending. So yeah, I don't know. All right, so that's everything I wanted to talk about this week. Leave a comment down below letting me know how excited you are for Crazy Rich Asians, or if you've already watched it, come back and talk to me about how you felt about the film. I plan on, like I said, watching it multiple times. I will buy it on DVD when it comes out and watch it again multiple times because I love me a good rom-com. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.